gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here with you today, and it's such a pleasure to be back again with Dr. Bhandari. Dr. Bhandari and I share long duration of activities together at Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Institute. Many years back, we established that institution, and it's such fond memories, and it's so nice to be again with you, Dr. Bhandari. And I'm very glad that this opportunity of talking to all of you about blood pressure. Let me get my slides. Well, today the talk is going to be on high blood pressure, and Dr. Bhandari has already laid down the foundation that this is a disease which is called silent killer. Diabetes and hypertension are called silent killers because these are the primary diseases, both diabetes and hypertension. And he already mentioned that they go hand in hand together, usually live together, and is the commonest cause for stroke, coronary heart disease or heart attacks, for eye disease, for kidney disease. So that's the reason. And most of the people, he also mentioned, most of the people do not know that they have high blood pressure. And therefore, these people silently damage their organs, vital organs, the heart, the brain, the kidneys, and eyes. And therefore, that's why this is called the silent killers of the body. Now, today, what we will do is to look at some of the questions. What is blood pressure? When would one say that there is high blood pressure? How common is high blood pressure in the communities? And why should you worry about high blood pressure? And what are the common causes of high blood pressure? How can you prevent high blood pressure? And we will take the questions predominantly. We'll not talk about the drug therapy here, but we'll talk about how can we prevent development of hypertension or high blood pressure, and how those of us who have high blood pressure, how can we change with our lifestyles and impact lowering of blood pressure to a significant extent by dietary modifications, by reduction of salt, diet consisting of fruits and vegetables, reduction of weight, exercise. We'll talk about yoga and meditation, and control of concomitant diseases that we talked about: diabetes, hypertension, kidney disease, heart disease. They all are usually bunched together. So taking the first question, what is high blood pressure? So blood pressure is basically a pressure which is exerted by the blood on the arterial walls of our body. So it's measured in millimeters of mercury by, usually initially was done by a mercury manometer. But since mercury has been banned because of mercury toxicity, therefore nowadays you have these aneroid measuring blood pressures, which are available home blood pressures, or automated blood pressure monitoring devices, which are also available to patients for checking blood pressure at home. And I'll come to that, because home monitoring of blood pressure is one of the most important aspects of taking care of blood pressure. The normal value of blood pressure, the upper one called the systolic blood pressure, is about 120 to 80. However, we'll talk about the definitions and why these numbers become important. Now, the two values of blood pressure are the systolic blood pressure, which is the blood pressure which is recorded during the ventricular contraction. When the heart contracts and pumps the blood into the arterial circulation, that is the blood pressure, which is the pressure felt on the arterial walls, and that's called systolic blood pressure. And when after the contraction, the ventricle relaxes or dilates, and that's the blood pressure, the return pressure on the walls is called the diastolic blood pressure. So the upper one is called the systolic blood pressure, the lower one is called the diastolic blood pressure. And somebody is supposed to have high blood pressure is if there is a sustained elevation. I think the important part is sustained, that this has to be sustained over days, weeks, months, and years, that the blood pressure continues to be high. So whenever somebody gets diagnosed with high blood pressure, it is important to document that that blood pressure remains elevated over a period of days and months together. So that's important. And I think somebody who is called as hypertensive or high blood pressure is to have a sustained rise in the elevation of the blood pressure levels beyond the normal values. Now, the blood pressure, as I said, is measured predominantly through the previously what was measured was through a sphygmomanometer, which was the mercury manometer, by which we used to measure blood pressures. Blood pressure fluctuates during 24 hours. It could be higher sometimes and lower, and it varies with activities and all that. So there is a normal variable circadian rhythm for blood pressure, and there are circadian rhythms for everything in the body as such. Everything, the heart rates vary same way, our intestinal activities, many other activities vary in the body. The hormonal activities in the body also varies, and therefore blood pressure also will be variable at different points of time. And this activity of blood pressure over 24 hours time period can be measured by what is called ambulatory blood pressure monitoring. So you can attach a blood pressure monitor over your arm and do 24 hours activities, and it measures blood pressure every hour. Or you can fix it at what time it would measure the blood pressure. During the daytime, much more commonly during nighttime, so that you don't get disturbed, it measures it less frequently. So but you can measure 24 hours blood pressure monitoring can be done, and this is essential, especially for some difficult high blood pressure patients who do not have high blood pressure around the clock. They have blood pressure when they come to the clinic, what is called white coat hypertension, that sometimes patients come to the clinic, they are apprehensive, and that's the only time they have high blood pressure. They go home and do other activities, there is no blood pressure. So this to identify white coat hypertension. And there is also another hypertension, what is called masked hypertension. That means people have, when they come to the clinic, the blood pressure is normal, but when they are at home or other activities and all, the blood pressure is high. So this is called masked hypertension. And both white coat hypertension as well as masked hypertension can be identified or picked up by ambulatory blood pressure monitoring. However, the best parameter for measuring blood pressure is home blood pressure monitoring and automated devices. Fortunately, these devices are becoming better and better. They obviously need calibration off and on. And I usually tell my patients that they should bring their own machines with them when they come to the clinic, so that I can check and see and calibrate it with the blood pressure machines which are in our hospital, and which are usually calibrated by the biomedical engineering department regularly. So how would you diagnose? The usual definition of normal blood pressure is actually, as I said, 120/80 is considered to be normal blood pressure, but obviously blood pressure changes with age, and the most often accepted high blood pressure values are considered to be if the blood pressure is more than 140 over 90 millimeters of mercury. That has been traditionally been the one, although some patients with kidney disease and especially with diabetes and diabetic kidney disease, usually the blood pressures that are recommended to be are 130/80 and less. And even in 2017, actually, the American Heart Association and the European Society for Cardiology, actually, because of a lot of publications, suggested that actually 130/80 would be the blood pressure which should be considered as normal blood pressure. Less than 130/80 and anything more than 130/80 would be considered to be a higher blood pressure. And if this definition was accepted, there is a 20% increase in the number of people who suddenly become now hypertensive or have higher blood pressures. So I'll show you the data as to what has happened with these change in definitions. But I think for practical purposes, if we say that blood pressure, which has significant effects on the target organs, is usually when the blood pressure is 130, 80 and above. And especially in the elderly people, say 75 or 80 years of age, I would not be very, very finicky about the blood pressure level. I would feel 140, 90 may be a reasonable blood pressure for that age, because if you tend to lower the blood pressures to a greater extent, then there is a high chance of falls, and they might break the, have a fracture, or and they're not able to, the muscle weakness which occurs, and if they have sudden hypotension, then they're not able to control themselves. So I would be, this is usually not necessarily very strict in the elderly population. And as I said, that the blood pressure monitoring devices which are available at the point of time now at home are the, these devices are available. Fortunately, many of these devices now have usually such phenomena that they usually take blood pressure thrice before they give you the blood pressure value. So every time you measure blood pressure, they will check your blood pressure 3 times in a gap of about 5 minutes or so, so that you are comfortable, and the blood pressure average of these 3 blood pressure measurements would be shown on the machines. And these machines are much better, but they still need to be calibrated. Now, high blood pressure is mostly, we do not know the cause for high blood pressure, and that's hypertension. 95% of the high blood pressure is the blood pressure which we call primary hypertension. So if we have 100 people with hypertension, 95% of people will not have a cause for high blood pressure. And that means we do not know why that person, those persons have high blood pressure. Is called primary hypertension, or essential hypertension it was called essential hypertension. And 5% of the people out of these 100, 5 people will have a specific cause. And sometimes the cause of high blood pressure could be a kidney disease. And underlying kidney disease is an extremely important cause of blood pressure. And then some vascular diseases, if the circulation to the kidney, so the renal arteries which supply blood to the kidneys, and if these circulation is suddenly narrowed down because of disease process, in the elderly population, sometimes there are diseases like aortoarthritis, which occurs especially in India and the Southeast Asian countries, Takayasu arthritis, that can cause narrowing of the blood supply to the kidneys, and you can get hypertension because of ischemia, or because of the low circulation going to the kidneys. There can be causes in the endocrines, and the glands, adrenal glands can produce hormones which can cause increase in blood pressure and all that. So there are other causes of blood pressure, but that happens in 5%. If you are looking at spectrum of disease for blood pressure, younger the people or elderly people, if blood pressure occurs usually between the ages of 40 to 60 years of age, most of the hypertension would be a primary hypertension. The younger the patients, the chances are much higher that you may have a cause for blood pressure, and that needs to be looked into. Every patient of blood pressure, high blood pressure, one needs to find out that one does not have an underlying kidney disease, underlying vascular disease which affects the blood vessels, and there isn't a disease of that, and there are no other organ effects. That's extremely important to observe in patients with high blood pressure. The usual symptoms of blood pressure, as I said, that majority of the people with mild to moderate high blood pressure will not have any symptoms. This remains asymptomatic. This therefore gets neglected, is not picked up by patients. People don't worry about. It's commonly said that headache occurs, is a common symptom of hypertension. But let me tell you, if there are 100 people who have mild to moderate blood pressure, only 7% will have headache. So headache is an uncommon symptom of high blood pressure. Shortness of breath, Dr. Bhandari was also talked about, but there can be other causes of shortness of breath, especially when high blood pressure affects heart or there may be a lung disease that the person may have, and there may be kidney diseases which can also cause those kind of symptoms. Dizziness will vary depending on how severe the blood pressure is, or sometimes dizziness might occur once you start treating blood pressure and blood pressure starts suddenly going down, you might get dizziness. Chest pain occurs especially if there is heart disease in a patient, blurring of vision, Dr. Bhandari was talking about, and poor vision. 30% of patients with poor vision will have blood pressure as a cause of poor vision. And I think it's very, very important to look for organ damage in a patient who has got high blood pressure. But majority of the patients with high blood pressure will not have symptoms, any symptoms. And that's the reason why this is called a silent killer, is basically because there are no symptoms. One will have to usually dig up symptoms or find out some signs on examination if there is a target organ damage. And I think as a clinician, it's extremely important for the clinicians to look into the target organs which can be affected by high blood pressure. And we'll talk about that. Dr. Bhandari was talking about that majority of the patients with high blood pressure actually do not know that they have blood pressure. It's a very highly prevalent disease. 30 to 40% of people, urban people, have high blood pressure. So you're talking of large populations, 1.3 billion population, and if 30% of this population has high blood pressure, especially in the urban population, and even in the rural population now in India, it's the incidence and the prevalence of high blood pressure is going up. And this is one survey which is done by the US in 2011 to 2014, the National Health and Nutrition Awareness Survey, which was done. And they found that about the age of 20 years, 46% of the US population, if you take the blood pressure as more than 130 and 80, had high blood pressure. And only 60% of these people get blood pressure medicines, and only 30% of these people who get medicines do not achieve their target blood pressures. So they remain uncontrolled despite knowing that they are having high blood pressure, despite going to the physicians and having been treated with blood pressure. So only about 60% of them have a controlled blood pressure. The large majority of patients do not have control. And this is what this survey shows, that as you increase your ages 22 years to go to 75 years, there's a progressive increase in the prevalence of hypertension, both in men as well as in women. And you can see that whether you define the systolic blood pressure as 130 to 80 millimeters of mercury or 140 to 90 millimeters of mercury. And you can see that obviously the population, when you say that 130 to 80 is the target, then larger percentage of people in 2011 were having high blood pressure. This is higher in the older people than in the younger age group. Non-Hispanic blacks, especially in US, in comparison to non-Hispanic whites. The global prevalence of high blood pressure has been estimated to be 26 to 30%. So about 1.5 billion people in the world have high blood pressure. So you can see that what is the impact of this disease on the worldwide health as such. And you can see that large proportion of patients have high blood pressure, and majority of them are not yet controlled. And 30 to 40% of the world population have uncontrolled high blood pressure. And this is from the US itself, again from the American Car. You can see that high blood pressure present in about 46 percentage of the US population. Pharmacological treatment is given to 36%, and blood pressure above goal. That means those who have not achieved the goal is about 53% of people. And large majority of people So 103 million people in US have blood pressure. 82 million people have been recommended, and 30% of people do not achieve their blood pressure target. So they have still uncontrolled blood pressure and will have consequences of uncontrolled blood pressure. And this is in India as well. And you can see that the awareness about blood pressure in Bangalore, Chandigarh, Chennai, Jaipur, Trivandrum, you can see that awareness is only present in about 40% of people. Those who are on treatment is about 30%, and those who have control is about 17 to 10 to 17% in different. And you can see that urban population obviously is affected to a greater extent than the rural population. Much more worrying. So in India, you have more than 20 crore people who have hypertension in India. But much more alarming is that although this is considered to be a disease which occurs usually in the middle age group, 40 years, 60 years of age, but as I showed you, the data from US also 20 years to and above, 46% of the population. And this is a study from India. Between the ages of 18 to 25 years, 12.1% of children have also high blood pressure. And that's worrying actually, because at this young age and the impact of high blood pressure, because high blood pressure once present, usually we mean a lifelong sort of persistence of this high blood pressure. And the number of years in children that this high blood pressure is going to have an impact on is extremely important. So there is an alarming rise in high blood pressure amongst children. Obesity is also increasing in these in this population, and with a combination of obesity, diabetes, and hypertension in young age, that is quite alarming actually, and has huge health consequences. Who are the people who are at high risk of development of high blood pressure? I think there are a lot of risk factors which have been identified, and each one of them has an independent and strong association with the consequences of blood pressure and development of blood pressure. Advancing age, we talked about it, especially the systolic blood pressure advances or goes up as we grow older and older, the systolic, because the walls become thickened, the arterial walls become thickened, and because of the calcium deposition, and that is what causes an increase in the systolic blood pressure. They are not able to sort of move with the blood pressure. So obviously they become stiff, and that's what causes systolic blood pressure. Obesity is a risk factor for development of hypertension. Family history we were talking about, and I think a strong family history. So blood pressure runs in the family. So there is some, maybe a genetic kind of a predisposition, although we haven't been able to identify, because this is probably multiple genes which are responsible for this family clustering of blood pressure, but it occurs in families commonly, and usually hypertension starting in the age of 40s and 50s. And usually many of these families may have also diabetes occurring in them, and heart disease and kidney disease also clustering together. So high blood pressure is a harbinger for many of these diseases along with. So it will, if you find high blood pressure, you must look around for diabetes, kidney disease, heart disease in the family. Race, African American in the US is extremely vulnerable to the consequences of uncontrolled blood pressure, and they have severe disease, severe vascular disease, and consequences of blood pressure. Another important cause which has been found over the last 2 decades or so is that if at birth, if you have low birth weight, or you are not born, you born prematurely, and that is many times associated with, so you get actually low number of nephrons or kidney. Kidney is extremely important as a cause for even primary hypertension. So kidney is very essential for regulating blood pressure, and it's not because I am a nephrologist and therefore I see that is the organ which is causing high blood pressure, but it's an important organ which regulates blood pressure. And the number of nephrons, normally we have 1 million nephron in each kidney, and the number of nephrons, if they are less, so those people who are born early or those who have less birth weight have lower number of these nephrons. And that is being considered to be one of the predisposing factors for advanced hypertension, essential hypertension, and reduced birth weight and prematurity. So that information of birth weight, especially amongst the population, should be known, and that might give clues to later diseases later on. High salt intake is associated with uncontrolled blood pressure, and in Japanese, there are islands in Japan where the salt intake goes up to about 25 to 30 grams per day, and they have very high strokes related to uncontrolled blood pressure. So salt intake is, and even when you look at the Australian Aborigines and Aborigines overall, and then hypertension and diabetes were not present in those populations. It's only once they started getting, you can say, started growing into the cultural scale, and they started getting urbanized the way all of us have, and the salt intake and diet, and they found that the incidence of hypertension and diabetes also has gone up, and that's been correlated to the increase in the salt intake in their diets as such. Excessive alcohol intake and decreased physical activities are other factors which are responsible for high blood pressure. The other contributing factors for high blood pressure are extremely important for the general population, and that's because many of the over-the-counter drugs which are available can modulate blood pressure very. Oral contraceptives, especially those with high estrogen dosages, and these are taken by young females, and so it's an important background information that's important to be kept in. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, the Brufens and the Vovrons and Combiflams and all, which are sort of popped up by population in general, antidepressants, corticosteroids, nasal decongestants, and weight loss medicines. All of them have effects on blood pressure. And Dr. Bhandari was talking about the breathing difficulties, and some people may have obstructive sleep apnea. They are obese and they are not breathing well at night. Their oxygenation goes down, carbon dioxide goes up, and they can have uncontrolled blood pressure also. And once you take care of obstructive sleep apnea, the blood pressure levels might get better. Why should you worry about high blood pressure? And I think Dr. Bhandari had talked about it. This is a harbinger. High blood pressure is a harbinger for very high incidence of strokes, heart failure. They are 2 to 3 times higher in patients with hypertension than those who have normal blood pressure. There is high incidence of heart failure, and cardiovascular disease is the commonest cause of death across the world, and high blood pressure and uncontrolled diabetes. These are 2 predominant causes for cardiovascular disease. And so chronic is a very important cause of chronic kidney disease, and especially in the African American population, the incidence of chronic kidney disease related to hypertension is extremely high in this group of population. And this is the data which shows that actually this is with stroke. You look at systolic blood pressure on the left side, and you see as you grow aged wise, 50 to 59 years, 60 to 69 years, 70 to 79, and 80 to 89, there is an increasing incidence of death due to stroke. This is death due to stroke. If the blood pressure goes from 120 to 160, systolic blood pressure, the same. If the diastolic blood pressure goes from 70 to 110, and as you are growing, you can see that the higher the chances of your dying because of stroke. Many fold, 64-fold higher chances at the age of 80 to 89 years if your blood pressure, systolic blood pressure is more than 160 or your diastolic blood pressure is more than 110. So you can see that it's an important cause for death because of stroke. Normally, with the increasing blood pressure, the left ventricle, which bears the brunt of the blood pressure, it starts getting bigger and bigger, and the left ventricular mass increases, and that's associated with death actually. So what ordinarily you say that the heart is big is not necessarily always good news. But the heart is big maybe because of uncontrolled blood pressure, and that is again a marker for increased death. And you can see that as your left ventricular mass increases, the chances of your dying because of cardiovascular disease become very, very high. And this is heart attacks and coronary artery disease. And you can see that the same, that as happened in stroke, with increasing age, there is higher chances of dying because of heart attacks in patients who have uncontrolled blood pressure. And this is that blood pressure is usually, as I said, present along with other risk factors. And this is different levels of blood pressure. Systolic blood pressure 110, the white one is 130, the blue one is 150, and the hashed ones are 170. And if you have cholesterol which is high and you are a smoker, you have low HDL. HDL is a good cholesterol. So if you have a lower HDL, or you have a bad cholesterol, total cholesterol is high. If you are male, if you have diabetes, and if you have 60 years of age, you can see that the chances of you are dying because of heart disease are higher as the blood pressure keeps on going up. So with all these other risk factors associated, the higher the blood pressure, higher the chances of your dying because of heart disease. And this is kidney disease, and you can see that different levels of blood pressure actually. The normal blood pressure is lower in the green, and then you have different colors of blood pressure. Increasing blood pressure causing higher and higher incidence of kidney disease in the population. So blood pressure as an important cause of kidney disease. And it's also an important cause for progression of kidney disease. It deteriorates. So blood pressure is one very important factor for us to control, that if you pick up kidney disease early, blood pressure remains both as a cause. Kidney disease is as a cause for blood pressure, and kidney disease also causes deterioration in blood pressure, and therefore control of blood pressure becomes an important goal in patients with kidney disease and heart disease. Now let's switch some gears and talk about what are the methods by which we can prevent or treat blood pressure. And I think the lifestyle modifications are most important actually. And I think it's a lifestyle disease, both diabetes, hypertension, cardiac disease, kidney diseases. These get aggravated because of our poor lifestyle that has happened over the years that we have developed. And that's, we have started taking unhealthy diets, and that contributes. So I think restricting yourself to healthy diets. And what does a healthy diet mean is consuming a diet which is rich in fruits and vegetables, whole grains, low fat dairy products with reduced content of saturated fats. And if you follow this diet, and somebody who has a family history of high blood pressure and or has tendency now to develop high blood pressure, you can reduce your blood pressure if you are hypertensive by 11 millimeters, and if not, otherwise then by 3 millimeters of mercury in people who do not have high blood pressure, but just sort of staying on the healthy diet, you will be able to reduce blood pressure by 3 millimeters. Salt, I talked about earlier, is extremely important risk factor for development of hypertension, and how much salt we take is extremely important to determine actually. And Dr. Bhandari and we have talked about this salt sensitivity actually, and every individual may be a bit different. There are salt sensitive mice which we study usually in the experimental, and I did that 30 years back at Henry Ford Hospital where Dr. Bhandari is now working, and I was a fellow there at that point of time. And salt is extremely important determinant of what your blood pressure is going to be. So I think all of us must reduce our salt intake as a habit. We should not take more than 1 level teaspoon of salt, which is about 4 grams of salt. Level teaspoon. You can't create a huge mountain of salt over the spoon, but level teaspoon will be less than 4 grams of salt. And Indians also, even if in the diet they may not take large amount of salt, but in snacking, Indian snacks are very rich, especially Haldirams and Evergreens and many other namkeens that all of us eat. We tend to overeat those snacks and don't count them in the salt intake uh, whenever we are looking at the foods, and we don't remember that. And a decrease in salt intake will result in a loss of about 5 to 6 millimeters of mercury if you are high blood pressure, and about 2 to 3 millimeters of mercury lowered blood pressure. Diets which are rich in potassium help to reduce blood pressure, and these diets are usually fruits and green leafy vegetables, salads, coconut water, dry fruits rich in potassium. So these diets should be consumed, keeping the salt intake right and keeping the overall diet healthy. You will see that there is an overall reduction. So if you follow these 3 points, you can see that even if you don't have high blood pressure, you will be able to reduce your blood pressure by doing these activities consistently and introducing them to your life. You will keep your blood pressure at least by about 5 millimeters of mercury down. And this is the chart which shows that if you change sodium reduction or salt reduction, it reduces both systolic as well as diastolic blood pressure by about 2.6 millimeters of mercury overall, and about 2 millimeters of mercury or 1.5 millimeters of mercury. The other important lifestyle modification which is required is weight reduction, and best goal is to have an ideal body weight. But if you are overweight, you must try to reduce your weight and try to get to an ideal body weight. But every 1 kilogram reduction in your body weight will result in 1 millimeter reduction in your blood pressure. This is being shown here as well, that hypertension you can have by weight reduction 5 to 10 millimeters of mercury reduction, and in normotensive people by about 3 millimeters of mercury. And this is what it shows actually, that if 9.5% of weight reduction occurs, you might have a fall in diastolic blood pressure of about 10 millimeters of mercury. So if you are 100 kgs and you reduce to 90 kgs, which is 10% reduction, you will have a drop of 10 millimeters of mercury of blood pressure drop, which is shown in this slide. So the third important component of lifestyle modification is physical exercise, and that can combine both dynamic resistance. You can go to a gym if you have availability of gym, but you don't have to necessarily do that. You could do brisk walking along with yoga and isometric exercises for about half an hour every day into your lifestyle. And you can see that there is a consistent decrease in blood pressure, which has been shown both in the hypertensive to a greater extent and in the normotensive people. So using physical exercise into your lifestyle is extremely important, and one must be regular with it and should utilize at least half an hour of exercise every day, at least 5 days a week, if not more. And one should also introduce meditation, yoga, and other methods of stress busting by which you should be able to reduce. One should stop smoking if one is, and if one is drinking alcohol, and one should cut down the amount of alcohol. Usually 2 drinks per day are allowed, and 2 drinks would mean 1 pint of beer or 150 ml of wine, which is usually around 7 to 8% of alcohol, maybe 10% at the most. And if you are taking hard drinks, then maybe about 45 ml would be 1 drink, and maybe about 90 ml of 40% alcohol, not more than that. Usually, and that if you keep moderation in alcohol intake, then your blood pressure again could be lowered by about 4 millimeters. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me come to an end as to what are the methods by which one can improve control of blood pressure. And I think one of the methods by which is to increase awareness amongst the people. And one of these webinars is predominantly to achieve that kind of awareness amongst the people, that blood pressure is an important health hazard, uncontrolled blood pressure. And and it needs to be controlled and monitored regularly. Home monitoring for blood pressure is the best method by which blood pressure can be taken care of. Uncontrolled blood pressure can be monitored and taken care of, and one can use a lot of lifestyle modifications and diet and salt intake and exercise, reduction of weight, uh, by using yoga and brisk walking on a regular basis, keeping your weight under ideal circumstances, and that should help in controlling blood pressure. Obviously, one needs to remove clinician inertia. People need to, if they need to take blood pressure medicines, then they need to continue to take it. And blood pressure medicines need to be monitored by a physician. You should not discontinue blood pressure medicine. It's like a spring. If you put pressure on the spring gets pressed. And if you release the pressure, spring will come back. So blood pressure is also like that. The use of medications might help to reduce the blood pressure, which is important to keep the blood pressure under good control. But if you stop taking your medicines, you will again get the blood pressure to be uncontrolled. So it's very important to adhere to these drugs. Obviously, if there are side effects or adverse effects, you must discuss this with your physicians, and the physicians must be in regular touch with you to look at what are the medicines. If they need to be reduced, then they could be reduced. But if they need to be altered, that has to be done. A regular monitoring and regular checkup of this has to be done. The number of pills, fortunately, with the availability of newer pharmacopoeias, one should be able to keep the pill burden lower. One should keep a track of the patients who are hypertensive, so that some of these patients are not lost in the wilderness, and they remain controlled. And obviously there are algorithms for clinicians, and patients need to adhere to the drug regimens and all that, and provide feedback. Obviously it's very important for the patients to remain in touch with their physicians for checking their blood pressure control, so that they remain healthy. But I think people at large can take large number of things into consideration to keep their blood pressures under good control if they follow a good, healthy lifestyle. With this, I close, and I will be more than happy to take up any questions. Thank you very much.